haven't driven everybody out and away. And I would like to begin by saying that I, as an overthinker, have thought about class, what I'm teaching, and I've realized that I've done a really good job of teaching Bible class, and I've only really ever referenced the Bible. I don't actually stop, open my Bible or my phone where the Bible is on and actually talk and reference and say, let's go down book, chapter, and verse. So I'm teaching a Bible class that I'm not actually talking about the Bible. Nothing more than concepts. So we're going to, this class, that's going to happen today. Because I'm teaching a Bible class and not even talking about the Bible, which is not a good place to be. But having said that, if you would, please turn to James chapter 4, is where I'm going to be spending the time in today, because it's going to be very pertinent. Last week I started with the premise of what happens if you're in a dysfunctional marriage and all of the bad things. I had to get there, but that doesn't mean I have to linger there. So I'm going to start out with a much, much better topic today. But let me start out by asking, here's a question. Why, think back to your 20s, okay? For some of us, this is longer or shorter thinking back, but think back. Why did we want to get married? It's an honest question. Why do we want to get married? I'm sorry?
Partner.
We want a partner. Life is long, and life can get lonely. And it's not always, while it is fun to just take care of yourself, it also gets lonely to only have yourself to listen to. I find the longer I'm alive, I don't even agree with myself all the time when I talk to myself, that I disagree with some of my own opinions that I hold. But we get married to have a partner. We are built to be together, okay? And in that togetherness, we join ourselves to our opposite. What do we find ourselves, I just gave the answer away, but a lot of times, what do we find ourselves attracted to? Do we find ourselves naturally attracted to the same personality type? Or do we find ourselves, why? So if we acknowledge we want to be joined together to have a partner, and yet we find our natural attraction is to somebody who is not like us, why is that? Do you think? So I'm asking a not right or wrong, I'm asking a preference. Why do you think that we have a preference for somebody who is not like us?
Because I hang around myself all the time.
I need a break from myself. We also find in our partner that we are drawn naturally to those qualities that we don't have in and of ourself. Okay? I like to talk. I'm an overthinker. And I'm a bit, shockingly, a bit loud. Okay? Who am I attracted to? Allie does not overthink anything. She will make a decision, but she doesn't bother about her reasons or why. No, this is just what's going on, and we're moving forward. Well, do you want to be right? No. I made the decision, and that's what we're going to do, and we don't overthink it. We find ourselves attracted toward those personality types that we don't have. And in that can be the source of strength and also the source of conflict. That's where we have the conflict, because we are joined to what is not natural for us, or it's a personality trait that we don't have. So, What I'm going to be talking about, if we're going to start with James chapter 4, I'm going to be talking about primarily 3 attitudes that we need to embody that 29 years of marriage, and I know some of you may be more married longer, some of you may not have been married as long, but 29 years of marriage, I'm going to take one step out on the limb and say these 3 attitudes are ones that if we develop in our marriages will make them better. I'm going to start by reading verse 1 of James chapter 4. What is the source of quarrels and conflicts among you? Is not the source of your pleasures that wage war in your members? I'm reading from the New American Standard Version. Is not the source your pleasures that wage war in your members? You lust and do not have, so you commit murder. You are envious and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. Now, by show of hands, do you think that James is actually speaking about, in our congregations, people who don't have, and so they go out and murder somebody else? Do you think he's talking to murderers? I don't think so. But I would go out on a limb and say, if anger is leading to, when you think, I want to murder this person because they oppose me, he's talking about the attitude. You are so angry that you're looking at this other person as they are the ones who are thwarting you, and so the anger is what he's getting to. What is the source of your quarrels and conflicts among you? Why do we argue with each other? Now this is an open question. Why do we have conflicts in our place of work? Why do we have conflicts in our normal interactions with people? Why do we have such intense conflicts with those that we care about? Sorry, my radio's a little loud. You want it to be loud because if something goes on, you want me to run out and take care of it as opposed to be surprised, so it's okay.
Yes.
Why do we have these conflicts?
Well, he goes on to say, don't they come from your desires that battle within you?
Yes.
So I would say that would definitely be the case. And, we all have selfish, you battle within yourself. You may not want, so.
Thank you. Now, I posed it that way because I was trying to draw out exactly what you said. So that was a brilliant comment because that's what, when I was playing this in my head, that is exactly what I was thinking. We are self-centered people. And that's not negative. That is just a statement. We value taking care of ourselves and our needs. That makes us self-centered. What we hear when we say self-centered a lot is we think of selfish, which is self-centeredness becoming negative. When you're selfish, that means I will take what I want, when I want, and why I want, because I am going to fulfill this need now, or this want now. That's selfishness, that's self-centeredness going to negative. Yes?
There's the other kind of a portion of that I'm thinking of is that when you have an idea that you're thinking, okay, if we do it this way and things will go in this direction, and then your spouse comes in and they do it, they just tell you this is the way that's being done, instead of, this is from experience, instead of coming forward and saying, well, if you do it that way, here's some of the things that may happen, let's have a discussion about it, it gets into
huge conflict. Yes. Every plan that I make is undermined, modified, and thwarted by those that I love and care about always, every time. And then Allie goes, Why are you so angry all the time, Mark? I don't know why, because I just set forth a plan of action and you just systematically undermined every bit of that and wonder, oh, okay, well, there's reasons that go into that. But the attitude that I am trying to say, or that is, that James talks about, is the further apart our wants and needs are from our expectations, that in that space, the further apart those are, is where our conflict, our anger, our dissatisfaction is.
Or our values.
Or our values. Yes, this is going to be a great class because it can go everywhere. But we're talking about where my goal is to get us to. You are completely right. But where I'm trying to get us to, if we're talking about making stronger families, okay, we're starting from the fact that we are Christians, that we want to have good marriages. The attitude, I believe, that I have learned, where can I reduce this conflict, this difference between my wants and needs and expectations, is fostering appreciation for what we have. Okay? So there is want, there is appreciation, and then there is gratitude that I would like to get to. Hopefully we can if I don't talk in circles too much. But the more that I have found in my marriage that I can foster an appreciative attitude, that has made me find this elusive concept of joy and happiness. And the longer I've been alive, the harder I have found joy and happiness to find in my life. And it's very easy to find anger and disappointment because I find myself focused on these rather than being appreciative for what I have, where I am, what I'm doing, and why I'm doing it. Yes?
You know, I'm glad you pulled out the whole, well, first of all, I have to say it. I love that we read the scripture so slowly, because so often you just read it and you just move right through it and not really dissect it. But when you talked about the wants, the appreciation, gratitude, something that helps me, certainly not perfect at it, but I think if you can just look at people, try to think, especially with your spouse, and obviously with God, it brings me back to Jeremiah 29:11. My plans are to prosper you, not to harm you, but to give you a hope and a future. Well, if you know your spouse is for you, well, they're going to be they want to do good, not only for themselves, but for you. So if you can keep that in mind and try to look at it from their perspective, but it's that, how do we look at it instantly? Instead of self-defense, think, they're for me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense because far too often, while our spouse is for us, how many of us has found that our spouse who is for us also ends up being the chief architect of the downfall of our plans or getting in our way, or is the chief opponent to my happiness in appearance?
What's that last word? In appearance.
In appearance. They are for us, but like I said, my wife is the chief architect and chief blower-upper of all of my plans, and it is very easy to focus on you are the architect of all of the unhappiness in my life. No. Because what do we never teach? We teach Bible class. We teach what it means to be a believer. We teach a lot of things. We even might teach a introduction to marriage or what it means to be married or a pre-marriage class if you're lucky. We don't teach how to stay married, and we don't teach how to live together. I don't think it's because we're scared to approach the topic, we just don't think of it, and we go, well, that's something for you to figure out. You know, I heard a comedian once, if any of you have seen Dry Bar Comedy, which is like a bunch of Mormons standing around telling jokes, clean jokes, generally. But it was very funny that guy said, when I was going to get married, all the men said, congratulations, son. Just remember, pick your battles. Pick your battles. All the married men told me, pick your battles, pick your battle. Well, the thing is, they never told me what battle to pick. What battle is important to pick and what isn't? And then I thought about the opposite of that. Like, they all told me to pick the battles, but they never told me what battles to pick. But I thought, what do women tell their daughters? Get ready to win, like all the time. You're going to win all the arguments. All the time. Just get ready to win. We never have that conversation. Well, there's a reason why. Why do men back off in the arguments? There's reasons why we back off. That's a whole nother class. But we learn, well, if our wife is happy, then she's going to leave me at peace. Do I really care whether or not the lawn gets mowed on my schedule? No. So we just go and do it to keep the peace. It's a whole nother class. But the more, to get back on topic, the more I have found that I have spent time developing an appreciation, and I can only speak as a man, so I would ask you women to contribute to this from your perspective, okay? But I'm 54, almost 55 years old. That means that as I stand here, I'm telling you, I'm not joking, I am being 100% honest and open. I am telling you that I look at pictures of myself at 20 years old, and I go, how dare that kid who doesn't know what the heck he is doing make those decisions for myself that gets me to this place right now. I look at pictures of myself looking at 30 years of history that I have no idea that's coming, but I know I made all of these decisions that means I'm standing here today, living in a state of Arizona that I never thought I would end up in. I grew up in San Diego. I'm growing up in a place that it's way too hot, that there's not enough green in my life, and that I'm living here and I'm never going to move from here and I'm stuck here. Why? Because I have 30 years of decisions. Now, I, as a 54-year-old man, can choose to be irritated and angry at the lifetimes of decisions that have got me here, or I can appreciate I'm here because I didn't choose when I was working to try to get promoted to get to the highest level of the Border Patrol. I wanted to have a house. I wanted all of my children's memories to be connected to one place with a stable family, and that it was more important to me of the peace and harmony of my house as opposed to pursuing advancement. That I would go, okay, everybody pack everything up because we're moving to a new station, we're going somewhere else, and I moved 25 times so that I could get to be in charge of my own station, because I saw those men who make more money than me are already on their third marriage. They don't consult their families when they move. They just say, pack up, we're moving. And they change where they're going because I'm pursuing the next thing. And in 30 years, what my life has taught me is that the pursuit of the next thing doesn't bring happiness. It just brings another set of problems or another set of things to be overcome. So I made the decision as a young 25-year-old, I'm going to have all of my memories tied to one house, to one place. I'm going to make enough to take care of my family, but I value peace and stability over everything else. And so that means I'm going to live in Arizona, and I'm going to learn to enjoy 115 degrees and ref soccer games and 108 degrees, and I'm going to jump in my pool to cool off and then come into my air-conditioned house that runs 24 hours a day. Okay? Those are the consequences of my choices, but I can choose to be irritated by life and its imperfections, because what have we all found? We've all, most of us, sorry, there's a couple in here that aren't in their 50s or older or 40s, okay? There's a couple, I'll throw that in. You have a choice to make. Do you find satisfaction and appreciation for the consequences of your decisions? As imperfect as they are, and find joy and happiness in what you have, not what you don't have. Because pursuing the next thing can be enjoyable for a time, but I will tell you, not on the complete opposite side, but at least having lived long enough to experience the consequence of my decisions to do or to not do, I have enough. And to have the next thing, usually it's the phone. To have the newest phone, the nicest car, the new clothes, provides happiness for a moment, but it does not provide the joy that you are seeking. Because you will be, if you are unhappy with what you have now, you will be unhappy with what you have then. That does not mean that you have to drive a 25-year-old vehicle and live in a double wide or a single wide, because you can't afford a double wide. That's the rich people stuff. Or as I used, as I was told by the old people that I worshiped with years ago, it's like, wow, everybody was poor, but the rich people got to order from the Sears catalog every summer and get a new pair of shoes, as opposed to make it last another year. There was a different level in the way things happened, okay? So to be appreciative, that is fostering an attitude within us. That doesn't come from your spouse. That doesn't come from your situation. That comes from fostering that attitude within yourself of an appreciation. Anywhere did I say that you need to accept where you are? There is a difference. We're talking about attitudes. We're talking about attitudes embodied in James chapter 4. Nowhere in that did I say you have to accept the situation that you're in. The difference in accepting where you are and where you want to be can be a noble pursuit that drives you to provide, as a man, that you find when you get married. There is this thing that when your parents go, you are young, lazy, and irresponsible, and that exists in a teenager. And that when you get married as a man, suddenly there's this thing that wakes up. And it's this relentless pounding drive that I need to provide for my family that I have just created. Be it with only a wife. If you only have a wife to take care of, wait till you have a child. And then suddenly you go, oh my gosh. You think you have pressure with a mortgage. No. Now wait to see, and that's all coming from inside. That those are natural drives so that we as a man can protect that which we love, to nurture it, and to help it grow. Those are natural good drives, and all of those are driven by the difference between what you have and what you want. And that's fine, as long as that is kept within correct bounds. And what I mean by correct bounds is you could spend all your money paying the mortgage, or you can spend all your money on lottery tickets on the fantastically small chance to gain more money than you could ever earn in your entire life. One is responsible, the other is irresponsible. In that interplay is where life exists. There is also in James chapter 1, So I have talked about this from a male perspective, okay? And as I have also learned being married for 29 years, there is a female perspective to this. And my 29 years has taught me the longer that I have been married, the less I understand the female perspective that I ever thought that I knew. So I am asking this question, honest, open, and I want to hear from the females in the class. I've spoken about appreciation for where I am from a male perspective. I'm asking you, do you feel the same, or is it different? Because you process things different, you feel things different, and you think things different. So what is it for you? What is the things that you appreciate about your marriage, your situation, your circumstances? Is it the same, or is it different than a male? Or did I hit it on the head? I'm throwing it out there.
Well, I appreciate the stability my husband provided. There was a time when he got laid off. He was working for a Fortune 500 company. He got laid off because his whole cell went to China. But he worked for Jackie Hinkle, and he traveled to do the work that needed to be done. Hence, we got to stay in our house. He traveled. So I thank you. I was so grateful. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to move the kids. Just the stability that a man provides for the family.
Thank you. Anybody else?
But I like men.
You dovetail into the next attitude that I believe it's talked about here in James, okay? James chapter 2, you lust and do not have, so you commit murder. I don't think you're actually going out and killing somebody and stealing. You're angry. You lust after something. You want something. Want is found in lust. Lust is just want to its extreme. It's on the timeline. You either are stoic, where you don't want anything, and you push out all wants and needs, and then there's want in the middle of the timeline, and then there's lust. And lust is just want driven to its extreme, to where all other things fall away and you only focus on that. It can be with sex, it can be with money, it can be with power, it can be with anything. Lust, if it takes over, gets to be very destructive.
It's also unfulfilling.
Unfulfilling afterwards.
Well, yeah.
Yes, it's an emotion that has destructive elements to it, and if it's not kept under control, because we all lust after something to a certain degree, correct? I don't care if it's, I have daughters, so I'm going to use this reference. I don't care if it's going to Sephora to get whatever piece of makeup that I wouldn't care if you gave it to me, I wouldn't use it. But I just hear Sephora being talked about in my house a lot. So it's like, I don't care if it's the thing that you want, but it's of minor importance in life, or it's, well, when I was a young man, I had a foolish dream of getting a bass boat, and I've let that go by because I got change, but I don't have that kind of spare change. So if that turned into lust, then I would have done everything I could to get that at the expense of my family, and I go, no, I don't need that. Okay, sorry, let me not move on. The other attitude that I was talking about, that you said when my husband lost his job, he went and traveled, and I was so grateful. How do we build strong families? How do we have a happy marriage? You touched on it, which is gratitude. Okay? Gratitude. To be grateful for what you have. It's talked about a whole lot of places in the Bible. To reference Psalms, I'm not going to find the exact verse because I didn't look it up, and that will distract my train of thought. But it's so old it's talked about in, not Psalms, in Proverbs. Better a crust of bread in poverty than a feast with conflict and strife and anger. Gratitude, gratefulness underpins, I would say, underpins almost every single good emotion that you have in your marriage. Gratitude. Your husband sacrificed his presence at home with the woman that he loves and the family that he loves to go out and do things so that he could take care of his family. Okay, I being in law enforcement, I viewed that every single day. Okay, I would get up, I'd do my thing, and then I'd go, okay, kids, I go, Dad loves you. You got it? Good. Honey, we're not going to continue this argument. We're going to take care of whatever we need to take care of, because I knew in my mind, I had seen it enough that when I left in my uniform every day, I have to go to work, but I don't have to come home.
Yep.
Because if I turn my back on the wrong person, I'm dead. And I lost many friends over the course of my career for various reasons. A momentary lapse of doing what you know to be right ends up in a very bad place. So I learned to keep short accounts, to be thankful for what I have, but it took me a lot of time when we made a choice that when we got married, my wife and I said, it's easier to stretch a salary, one salary, than it is to get used and construct your life around two salaries and then have to cut down when you start having kids. So she didn't work. Thank goodness I got paid enough, but that also meant I drove a 10 or 12-year-old car. My kids used to laugh and joke with me about when they were growing up and they had, Spotify, Apple Music, they'd buy a song or something like that. There's money, they could go do that. Dad listened to the same 10 or 15 songs, or I listened to the same radio stations. Why? Because they didn't know Monday morning at 8 o'clock my paycheck hit, and by Monday morning at 8:30 the bills had been paid, and I'm like, we're broke for the next 2 weeks because everything's already spoken for. And there's no money for Dad. They didn't know that because I provided those things. You can get irritated, or you can be grateful that I have enough to take care of that which I love. To foster an attitude of gratitude inside your marriage will get you to a place as a man that is not natural for us, which is to be happy, to be content, and to not be grouchy. Because a lot of times us men, we're tired from work. When we're tired, when we're broken down, when we're worn out, how many of us come home and go, I'm tired, I'm worn out, do for me? No. That's all of work stuff. Now I have to do all the stuff at home to take care of all the things that I have that I needed that now need to be maintained. Okay? We just do and we take. Men, the way to find a place of happiness is the more you are in acceptance of the things that you have. Not satisfied, not giving up your ability to pursue something else, but to find acceptance in your circumstances and finding then gratitude for what you have is one of the keys, not the only, but is one of the keys that gets us to this elusive place for us, which is to be happy, which we don't know how, we really don't. We really don't know. How many of us, by show of hands, men, you don't have to actually speak, but how many of us have actually been irritated and angry at ourselves because all I know is I am dissatisfied and irritated, but I don't even know the right words of what I'm feeling right now. I just know I'm angry. Maybe it's just me. But, okay. But for me, I just know I'm not where I want to be. I just know I'm irritated. And so I get grouchy and I take it out on everybody. And it takes Allie to sit and, hold on, Mark, what's going on? What do you think? I don't know. And she tells me what I'm thinking because what I don't know and don't understand comes out as irritation and anger. And it takes my wife to put the right word on it to go, this is what you're feeling. James at least gives me the ability to look and say, why are you dissatisfied? Why are you angry? Because you want and you don't have. It gives me a timeline in my, or it gives me, I keep drawing a line. I don't have a board or anything, and I don't put it up on the screen. But we measure, I brought this up in the past, all of our concepts, all of our words, we measure those words by their deficiencies and their excesses. There's want. And James teaches me that I can put that concept of want, which I know very well, on a line, and its deficiency, what is the deficiency of want? Need. I need something. I need food. I want food. At noon, I need food because I'm hungry. On the other side, its excesses is lust. Everything falls away in my pursuit for that because I desire it so much, and I will run over anybody to get to it. James at least teaches me I can get all of these emotions, all of these words, these concepts, and measure them by their deficiencies and their excesses. And that we can take that concept, and if we have a word for an emotion, that gives us the ability as men to actually clear the dam of, I don't know what I feel, I just know that I'm angry and I'm irritated. And we get married to have a partner, to go back to my first question, we get married to have a partner so that we have a helpmate, because we are designed to go together. And our partner is on our side, even though a lot of times they seem to be the chief hinderer of me accomplishing my plan. Maybe I made a bad plan, but if we open ourselves up, we can both get to some place. Okay? The whole other, I don't have time, we have 5 minutes left. But the last concept, one thing, sorry. The other thing that I would say, and this is not found in James, is the concept of when we are married, we are on the same side. We might view it differently. We might put things together and come up with different solutions to the problem. But if we view it as we are both on the same side going toward the same goal, a solution can be found to the vast majority of problems. There are some things that we're just going to be arguing about because we're human and emotions get involved. But that's something that my dad never told me. I told that to somebody as a piece of advice, and their eyes just bugged out of their head and went, I've never thought of it that way. Because their spouse became their chief antagonist. Not what we're designed for, but if we remember your wife or your husband is wanting the best for you. We're on the same side of whatever problem is, so let's figure it out and realize we're both seeking the same goal. Yes.
I remember one time Paul telling me, we're here to help each other get to heaven. It's like, oh, that's true.
You're right. We're here to help each other to get to heaven.
Not, I'm not a stumbling, we were probably arguing. And so he's probably telling me, hold on, we're on the same side here, or this should be our goal.
Yes.
Our focus.
And look, I haven't even gotten into, this is so nuanced, and this class could go on for years and never finish, because there are so many issues in which to talk about this. Like, we haven't even got into the sexual relationship between spouses, because there's wants and needs, different drives, and we end up having conflict over that. We're here to help get each other to heaven, but you know what? I got a $1,000 tax bill that I don't have the $1,000. What are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
There are things that we have to do in conflicts, but do we argue like you're the source of the problem, the other spouse, or that we're on the same side and we can figure this out without it becoming vile and nasty between each other? The more that we appreciate where we are, and the more that we are grateful for what we have, and grateful for the circumstances that we are in. Okay? Let me end with this. How far can this attitude of gratitude be taken? I am gonna probably break down and cry, because every time I talk about this, I always do. But for me personally, the greatest example that I have ever seen of forgiveness, human, not Jesus forgiving everyone, putting him to death on the cross, but is found in the prologue of the book The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. Dutch woman, hid Jews during World War II. She went after World War II to the place that needed to know God more than any other. And she went to Germany to preach, to talk. Okay? And she said she was in a church in Germany and gave her talk, and everybody's lining up to shake her hand. Hey, Fraulein, very nice, great speech, wonderful. And she said, at one moment, there was a man in a fedora and a coat in front of me, and the next moment, I could see him in the concentration camp uniform, because he was the man at Ravensbrück concentration camp that was over her Arbeitslager, the place where she lived, and he was the cruelest one. And he didn't recognize her. And he came up to her. I want you to think about this. He came up to her and said, I believe I did wrong things during the war, but I believe all my sins have been forgiven. I'm asking you, can you forgive me? And he came up and put his hand out to shake her hand. Her sister died in a concentration camp. Her family lost everything. She lived, you'd have to read the whole book to see how horrible her life was for those years, but she survived. But the man who made her bad time even worse was standing there saying, forgive me. And she's like, I couldn't do it. I could not forgive this man. It was beyond me. But she realized that the love of God comes with an obligation, which is to forgive, because we've been forgiven of what has been unforgivable. And she said, you know what I can do is I can raise my arm. Like, God, you got to help me, because I can't do anything more than raise my hand. And in that moment, she said, the anger was still there, the bitterness was still there, but I could take an act of will, raise my hand, and shake his hand. And in that moment of the act of the will, she said, I found the ability to forgive my oppressor. Now, all of that exists on top of the mountain of acceptance, of gratitude, of love, of Christianity, of doing all those things. But she was able to find, I could forgive the unforgivable only because I made the first step. God will be the one that causes those things to happen, not us. But we have a responsibility through an act of the will that when our spouse irritates us, when everything is going wrong, and when you don't have money to pay the bills, that you say, I will be grateful for what I have, thankful for what I have, and I will find joy in accepting of where I'm at. It's all attitudes found within ourselves. So hopefully, by referencing the Bible and talking book, chapter, and verse, that I actually made the Bible class more real to everybody today. And go and be grateful and happy this week.